While it's pretty commonplace to dive into the main grounding mechanics of a game, it oftentimes is just as fun to take a look at some of the not-so-defining mechanics of the game and look at how they were implemented, how deep and complex they can sometimes be, and how they can, despite being secondary mechanics, impact the core gameplay. In this series, we'll be picking some secondary game mechanics to look at and see how in-depth and impactful they can actually be. We'll be starting today off with Final Fantasy X, and more specifically, the beautiful game of Blitzball. Final Fantasy X is a pretty tragic game, story-wise, considering that the world it takes place in is in a cycle of death and devastation caused by the monster known as Sin, and breaking the cycle involves our main character ceasing to exist. But it's also got goddamn Blitzball, baby! Let's go! Final Fantasy X allows you to manage and play games with your very own Blitzball team after making it to a certain point in the game's story. This isn't just out of the blue, obviously. Blitzball is a pretty big part of the game's story up to this point, with two of your party members playing the game themselves, and going to and participating in the Blitzball tournament in Luca is one of the excuses for Tidus to even be traveling with Yuna and friends at this point in the story. It's also very important for Wakka, as this tournament is meant to be his last game before committing himself full-time to protecting Yuna on her pilgrimage. That being said, after the tournament, and the one game of Blitzball you have to play for the story, the game of Blitzball fades into the background as the city of Luca does the same when Yuna, Tidus, and the rest of the party leave the city and continue on their journey. It doesn't have to end there for you though, because from this point onward, you can play games of Blitzball at any save point, and earn yourself various rewards. The game itself is pretty simple on the surface. Both teams have 6 players, a goalkeeper, 2 defenders, and 3 forwards. Or is that one a midfielder? Is it midfielder or middle forward? The point is, there's 3 people up front, 2 people in the back, and then a goalkeeper. You try to score and not get scored on. If your team has the ball, your player will automatically, until you change it to manual control 5 seconds into the game, move around until stopped by 1 or more players on the other team. You will then have the option to try to break through any number of defenders before passing, shooting, or if you break through all defenders, you can opt to continue to dribble the ball. Each player has different stats that make them better at certain things. Shooting and passing is, well, duh. Blocking is how good a character is at blocking a shot or a pass, attack is how good a unit is at tackling, and endurance is how good a character is at being tackled without coughing up the ball. Catch is also a stat used by goalkeepers to, well, you know, catch the ball and keep you from scoring a goal. Characters also have different swimming speeds, which of course has a large impact on mobility, and an HP stat. HP dwindles over time when you have the ball and regenerates when you don't have the ball. And trust me, you want to keep a good chunk of it because you need it to use techniques. And yes, this minigame has techniques. Different types of shots, passes, and tackles that have higher chances of succeeding, as well as inflicting status ailments like lowering a particular skill on another player, draining their own HP, or just having higher power, or even putting a character to sleep, which is as overpowered as it sounds. Once units level up, they can equip more skills, and one way that you can learn skills is through yet another system in the game that lets players before a match mark specific players on the other team and then learn a skill if they see that player use it. So yeah, that's already a lot to take in for what amounts to just a minigame as part of a much larger RPG. And we haven't even talked about free agency yet, baby! You see, another interesting thing is that you don't have to keep using the same Besaid Aurochs, and they're less than all-star caliber players. You can use the scout function to find free agents all over Spirit assigned to your team. You just walk up to NPCs, hit a button, and see if they're secretly a professional athlete in disguise. It's like if in the real world you just walked up to random people you know and asked them if they're secretly an NBA caliber basketball player. But like, it works. You then sign your free agents to a contract for however many games and fire one of those poor bastards that walk-in trusted you with when he retired. Sorry, Keepa. It's not me, it's you. You're just not very good at this game. Funnily enough, the players on the other Blitzball teams also have contracts that do eventually run out, and while they do often re-sign with their team, they don't always do that. So if that asshole from the Luca Goers that acts like the bully in a sports movie becomes a free agent, you can sign him if you want. This does mean that, in theory, if you play enough games, the teams can start to look a little bit different, which is actually pretty cool. It's kind of like randomly simulating 5 years into the future in 2K and seeing some really wacky roster construction where some star player is halfway across the country on a really weird team. So we've shown that Blitzball has a fair bit of depth to it as far as its mechanics, but like, what's the point? While it may be fun to make the Besaid Aurochs into the greatest sports dynasty Spira has ever seen, what does that do for me as far as playing the actual game is concerned? Well, winning games, tournaments, and leagues in Blitzball can get you some pretty good overall rewards. By the way, there's games, tournaments, and leagues. You can play regular exhibition matches, tournaments, and leagues. Leagues take a long time, but you can get some pretty unique and interesting rewards from them. Speaking of that, Waka's additional overdrives and the sigil needed for his ultimate weapon are obtainable through tournaments and leagues. Ultimate weapons in Final Fantasy X are a strange mechanic in and of themselves, since you need to get a mirror and then purify that mirror just to unlock the chests that have the weapons themselves in it. But then you also need to get a crest and a sigil for that weapon and use them together to actually make that weapon good. The crest is usually just in a chest somewhere in Spira, but the sigil is usually hidden behind a minigame or annoying challenge of some kind. While Waka won't make you dodge 100 lightning bolts like Lulu, you will have to play a lot of good old-fashioned American Blitzball, baby. So funnily enough, the way to get the most out of Waka as a party member is to play the crap out of Blitzball after he retires from the game, which is kind of funny. Also, by the way, once you reach a certain point in the game, you do unlock the ability to scout Waka and re-sign him to the Aurochs, despite the fact that he is canonically retired at this point, which, yeah, it's kind of neat. So yes, you can get a bunch of interesting rewards that will help you progress on the sphere grid, as well as just give you good consumable items throughout playing Blitzball. But you can also get some really good stuff for Waka, helping you unlock the power of his ultimate weapon and get all of his overdrives. Even though Attack Reels is the best one, and you get that from the first tournament, I think, anyway, so, yeah, whatever. In the end, Blitzball is actually a very memorable part of the game. Even not thinking about the tangible benefits it can give to your core gameplay, it's a fun distraction for the player in a narrative that is genuinely pretty dark at times. Which, and this part's actually kind of poetic, is also the purpose of Blitzball in-universe. Blitzball in Spira is the one big distraction that the people of Spira get from the harsh realities of the world they live in. A world with no guarantee of tomorrow and no safety from the dangers of a giant demonic whale murdering your hometown. So it does fulfill that same role for the player, letting you take a break from your journey to stop Sin and kill Seymour for the 7th time, to just sit back, relax, and play some goddamn Blitzball. Thanks for watching. This is the first episode in a series that I thought about making for a while, and I know that a lot of you are probably more into this video essay style of content than I did with the Star Rail videos, so hopefully you like this as well. Feel free to suggest some more topics and games you'd like me to cover down below. If you liked it, well then, you could like it then. Also, sub if you feel like it, please. Anyway, I'll be continuing to play through Dynasty Warriors Origins and maybe even put up another gacha game related video in the near future, so until then, see ya.